Hey, we're Surprise Studios. We're a group of friends trying to make video games. We're working on a game called Hookscrap. It's a 2D top-down shooter roguelite with an emphasis on fast, fluid combat and a robust upgrade system. Your goal is to capture and destroy ships and better equip yourself to defeat the looming presence of the Space Police Force, the endgame boss. I'm Cam, and this is the first devlog for Hookscrap. The game started as a 48-hour game jam project that is now being developed into a more complete release. What we already have to work with is as follows. We have a player controller, we have our tractor beam mechanic. Hey guys, what's up? Editing Cam here. I just wanted to bring up real quick, the tractor beam doesn't get brought up later in the video because the tractor beam is the harpoon. The tractor beam was our first iteration of the harpoon mechanic that we have, so I just want to bring that up now so there's no confusion later down the line. Back to the video. And we have a lost state. What we currently have planned is the following. We want to add warp gates, which will allow the player to escape the current level. We want to increase the amount of systems and the ship variety, and we want to be able to implement loot and an overall crafting system.
Hi, I'm Austin, and this is the Disney Channel. I am a software engineer, and I'm the main lead dev who does all the fancy coding stuff here. Before I did game development, I was raised by a family of musicians and have done composing since I was like 12, and have made music for games for like forever. So this is the match made in heaven. Nice to meet y'all. For this first version of the hook, we kind of went with this idea of using Unity's built-in hinge joint system and making it a massive hinge with many joints so that it would have this cool, twisty hook system that would make the harpoon curl around and look super satisfying. And it does, but it has a few core issues. First of all, it's really hard to control the ship because the actual harpoon affects the ship's movement. And also, whenever it moves and you affect the hook, it's super unpredictable, so you never know where it's gonna go. And as you may have noticed there, it's full of glitches. This was not gonna work.
No cap. Yeah, I'm in the coke with the cutter, yeah.
For this next iteration, we kind of went for this idea of reducing the number of joints to decrease the predictability, but keep the joint system that Unity has. This was okay, but you'll notice that the ship is still kind of slow, and you'll notice it gets bounced around by the hook. It's kind of hard to tell where it's going because we don't have a visualizer of the line, but you can see that the hook is visualized between that single point and the ball that was shot out there. We added this cool hook launching system, which was pretty good, but it had a big problem. It caused the ship to go entirely still when it's moving, and once again, when extending, want the players to feel in control, and that was like awful. So once again, we had to kind of start from scratch and figure out what to do. But this addition did allow us to have the ability to actually control aiming and capturing another ship. For the final version of the hook, we went for a system that was totally separated from Unity's physics engine. What we did was created a ball that would rotate around the ship in an orbit, and we were able to control the rotation through a series of sliders that I created to make the process super simple. It was way easier to control, and still felt like it made sense in the physical world. Whenever you rotated in a certain direction, it would begin to follow that rotation and swing around wildly, and when you stopped, it would totally pause and return back to the center smoothly. This way you could really control what was happening and feel like you knew exactly where it was going to go. With this being said, it had everything we needed. The only thing left to do now is to add the ability to move, extend, and retract it, which is already done with previous versions, so it should be pretty easy. This version allows us to control how quickly it does different things, like returning back to the center. As you can see here, it moves back to the center super smoothly and quickly. It snaps back, whereas if we do it with a higher value, it rotates around gently back to the center. With all that said, it's way easier to capture objects in space while you're using the harpoon, which is the whole point. So I'd say this system was pretty successful.
Hey everyone, my name is Tyler. I am the programmer on the Surprise Studios team. I was actually a computer science major for a little bit until I decided that, So what made me want to get into game design was just seeing my peers around me be super passionate and talented, and I wanted to match that. I wanted to be as talented as them, and I knew game design was something I was interested in. At that point, it was just a hobby, and when I realized that I could be a part of that, that's what drove me to be a game design major and ultimately make that my passion. So one of my tasks as the programmer on the team was getting the ship AI to work, and that requires a few things. Firstly, is the pathfinding system. One of the packages I was able to import into Unity is something called the A-star pathfinding algorithm. What it does is basically uses all these components to create a path that can ignore certain layers that you tell it to ignore. So in the case of the ship AI, I wanted it to ignore the obstacles that are in the scene. So one of the layers I had to ignore, actually I don't think I ever set that, but we'll just pretend I did. So essentially ignore the obstacles, or at least it should. So this is the ship prefab, and it utilizes a few things to actually make the AI functional, one of which is the outer circle. Once the player enters this radius, the ship will start shooting. Okay, so we have our ship right here. I'm going to fly over there and kind of demonstrate how this works. So as you can see, it's selecting a path and flying towards it right there, and it resets every 3 seconds, I believe. Alright, so now I've entered the radius, and once I enter this smaller radius within this larger circle, the ship will actually begin to follow me. But if I were to escape it, then it would, if I can actually not run into a wall, that would be great. So yeah, as you can see now, the ship is just standing still, but at the same time, I'm also in this radius on the outside. So while I'm inside of that, the ship will still try to shoot at me, and it will also offset the bullets by a random amount, just to account for like how fast you're moving and stuff like that. Because obviously you're going to be on the move a lot, and the ship is not going to be like, it can't just track you 100%, and if that were the case, it would never hit you. So there's just that bit of randomness that kind of accounts for that. Actually, this is kind of how the AI works. So as soon as I leave the radius, if I can not get hit by asteroids, that would be great. So now at this point, I'm not in the radius at all. So now the ship goes back to its wandering state, where it picks a handful of new points, travels to them, repeats that process. As you can see, this is very much a work in progress. The ship is not affected by any obstacles that it touches right now. As you can see, like asteroids will hit it every now and then, and nothing happens. Like it doesn't really like explode or anything like that. That'll all come later. But as of right now, this ship AI works pretty well, and I'm pretty happy with the result. I'm gonna make a point that like if you set your mind to it, you can do it. You know, because like realistically, there's games out there that have way crazier AI than this. One comparison I can think of is like the Alien Isolation game. That game has like insane AI, and like it has like all kinds of different senses and states and stuff like that, and this honestly is on a very basic level. I want to push the point home that like anyone can do this. Like this really is not that difficult if you put your mind to it. Like A-star pathfinding, a lot of that I honestly just found resources online that were able to help me figure that out. So that's really helpful. But yeah, that's one point I wanted to make.
Hey guys, I'm Jack Murray. I'm Surprise Studios' lead designer and creative director. I started out in game dev using a Hammer editor and modding Half-Life games, and I've slowly expanded my skill set into a little bit of programming, 2D pixel art, and pretty much everywhere else, at least to a small degree. I've spent most of my time developing solo, so I wear every hat, but I definitely have the biggest hat in game design. But yeah, so this is the GDD that I've been working on at the fuzzy front end of our game's production. Basically, the GDD is our team's Bible. This is what all of our team members are going to be looking at and figuring out exactly how the game is going to work. Think of it like a Wikipedia page. So it's going to have some narrative aspects, some play feel aspects, all of the mechanics, dynamics, and then as well as statistics, metrics for everything else. And this document's currently 12 pages long, and I would say it's incomplete. Normally, documentation is a pretty boring thing for most people, because it's a very technical writing style, and most people just aren't interested in writing a bunch of nonsense that seems obvious. But I kind of love it. I don't know why I like it, but I do. A big part of game dev is making sure you're iterating the design documents so that everybody's on the same page of where the project is, because game development is an iterative process. You realize something doesn't work and you change and make things better. So that's why you see I have this revisions table here that's showing the updates that I've made throughout the project. And of course I have smaller updates in between here, but I only organize these revisions by the major changes. The other document that I've been spending a lot of time on recently is our art style guide. You can think of this similarly to the GDD, except it goes farther into the stylistic and player perception of the game. So at the top you've got this aesthetic summary that goes over the feeling, the themes, the styling, and then you start to get into details about how assets are made. So I go over like the scaling of the pixel art, how it's tied to the screen resolution, what kind of shading I'm using, and then of course I've got my fat color palette here. And there's more to be added to this as well as we continue.
I'm not seeing enough movement!
I've recently been working on updating our parallax background that we're going to be using throughout our levels. Parallax is, so you see how there's these different like layers in the background of things moving, like the stars are moving farther than the gas clouds are. This planet is moving faster than the stars and that background. Parallax is a way of faking depth through multiple separate images, and the way this functions in our game is we have a background object that has a collection of all of those, and in this lovely code here, essentially what it does is it takes the position of the camera and it pulls the position of these background objects in kind of the opposite direction based off which layer they are, in order to create that fake effect of them pulling apart at different rates.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Cam from the intro, but I'm outside in the real world now, which is super cool. I've been mainly editing the video for the past like 8 hours now, so it's almost done, which is good. But I just wanted to mainly say I think my dog's trying to attack me. No, I was just trying to do this, but like now this guy's trying to attack me. Hold on. Hey, buddy. Okay, enough of that. Mainly what at least we wanted to bring up is we were definitely thinking about changing the name of the game. So if you guys have any thoughts or ideas or anything in that realm, we would greatly appreciate that. Also, if you just have any additional ideas about why we're doing certain things, or if you have any ideas just about the game itself, then totally feel free to let us know. That'd be super cool. We'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and ideas. And past that, I guess I gotta do like the obligatory YouTube outro, so make sure to like and subscribe and share with your friends and family. You know, they definitely would love to see this. Yeah, make sure to check out our other socials. We're gonna be posting shorter form videos that are somewhat devlog style over there. So yeah, thank you guys for watching.